Hello, in this video we want to solve this question. For the following utility functions, comment on the attitude towards risk. Question part 1, u equals to w square. Part 2, u equals to 2w. Part 3, u equals to w to the power half. And part 4, u equals to w cube, where w denotes the level of wealth. This is very important question for economics honors semester 3 University of Calcutta. Now how to check the attitude towards risk. Suppose utility function, first I do the theory portion. Utility function u equals to u of w. This is a functional form. I am not using any specific algebraic form where w is the level of wealth. Now the u prime, that is the first order derivative, du dw is greater than 0. That is, as w increases, as level of wealth, that is w, rises, utility rises. Now the condition for attitude towards risk, when u double prime w, that is the marginal utility of, this is the marginal utility of wealth. U prime is marginal utility of wealth. Marginal utility of wealth in u. This thing is d of dw u prime, that is d of dw in u. If this is greater than 0, that is when w increases, marginal utility of wealth increases, then the individual is called risk lover. Then the individual is called risk lover. When u double prime w, that is d of dw u prime equals to d of dw in u less than 0, the individual is called risk averse. The individual is called risk averse. That is, for risk averse, law of diminishing marginal utility. Law of diminishing marginal utility of wealth holds. That is, as w rises, marginal utility falls for risk averse. When u double prime, that is dw of u prime equals to d of dw mu equals to 0, then the individual is called risk neutral. Risk neutral. I am recollecting once again. When d mu by dw greater than 0, that is, as w rises, marginal utility of wealth increases, then the individual is called risk lover. d mu by dw negative, that is, as w rises, marginal utility of wealth falls, then the individual is called risk averse. And when d mu by dw equals to 0, that is when w increases, marginal utility of wealth remains constant. Therefore, d mu by dw equals to 0, then the individual is called Rix neutral. Now we check all these conditions for these four utility functions. Now we do the first part. Number 1, u equals to w square. Now u prime, that is du dw, if we differentiate, 2 comes here, w 2 minus 1, therefore w to the power 1. This is positive since w is a wealth. And u double prime is what? U double prime is d of dw. This is du dw, that is the marginal utility of wealth, equals to 2, which is greater than 0, which is greater than 0. That means as w rises, marginal utility of wealth increases. Therefore, the individual is called Rix lover, since marginal utility of wealth increases with increasing wealth, then the individual is called Rix lover. What is the utility function? Utility function u prime positive, u double prime positive. That u prime positive, u double prime also positive. As w rises, u of w rises, because u prime positive and u double prime positive means rises at an increasing rate. Increasing rate. The graphs look like this. U equals to w square. On the vertical axis, we measure u of w. On the horizontal axis, we measure wealth. This is the utility curve. This is the graphical representation of the utility function. And the attitude towards Rix is that the individual is Rix lover. Now we do the second part, that is u equals to 2w. Now we first differentiate u prime w, that is du dw equals to 2, which is positive, and u double prime, that is d of dw, du dw, that is d of dw marginal utility, mu equals to d of dw, mu here 2, differentiation of constant term is 0. That means as w rises, marginal utility, mu, marginal utility of wealth remains constant. That is, the individual is called Rix neutral. The individual is called Rix neutral. Individual is called Rix neutral, and the utility curve will be like this. U of w, on the vertical axis we are measuring u of w, and on the horizontal axis we are measuring w. U prime is positive, therefore the slope is upward sloping, and the second order derivative is constant. That means it is a straight line passing through origin. This one, u equals to 2w. This is the utility curve. Now we do the third part. Part 3. Utility function is given as u equals to w to the power half. Now u prime, that is the first order differentiation, u equals to w to the power half, half comes here, w to the power half minus 1, that is half w to the power minus half. This is positive. And the second order derivative, u double prime equals to d of dw, du dw, d of dw marginal utility of wealth, mu equals to d of dw. I am writing half w to the power minus half. We differentiate, half is constant. This minus half comes here. Then w to the power minus half minus 1, that is minus 1 by 4 w to the power minus 3 by 2. This is negative. That is, as w rises, u prime positive, utility rises, and u double prime is negative, rises at diminishing rate. That is marginal utility of wealth. Marginal utility of wealth is diminishing. Marginal utility of wealth is diminishing. That means the individual is risk averse. The individual is risk averse. The individual is risk averse. In this case, utility increases at diminishing rate. Therefore, the graph will be like this: u equals to w to the power half. U equals to w to the power half. Here on the horizontal axis we measure w, on the vertical axis we measure utility. This is the graph for this utility function, and the individual is risk averse. Why risk averse? Because u double prime is negative. Law of diminishing marginal utility holds for this individual. Therefore, the individual is called risk averse. Now we will do part 4, where u equals to w's cube. Now u prime equals to d of dw, u prime d of dw of w cube. 3 comes here, w to the power 3 minus 1, that is 2. This is positive. And u double prime is d of dw, du dw. This is d of dw by of mu. This is d of dw. 3w squared equals to 3 is constant, 2 comes here, w 2 minus 1, therefore w, this is 6w greater than 0, w is positive. Again, just like the first case, we are getting u prime positive and u double prime is also positive. When w rises, u rises, utility rises. Achha, I am writing utility rises, and u double prime is positive, therefore at increasing rate. The individual is called risk lover. The individual is called risk lover. The graph will be like this. Here w, here on the horizontal axis we are measuring w, on the vertical axis we are measuring u of w, and as w increases, utility increases at increasing rate. Therefore, the curve will be like this. It is a convex from below. U equals to W cube. For the risk averse, the utility curve is convex from below. Sorry, for the risk averse, utility curve is concave from below. For the risk averse, the utility curve is concave from below. For the risk lover, the utility curve is convex from below. This is concave from below and this is convex from below. I hope everybody understood this question. Thank you. That's it for this video.